What's going on, guys? Happy Friday to you. Wherever you're joining me from, maybe it's not even Friday, maybe it's Saturday, and you're in the future somewhere across the globe already. And I'd love to know where you're watching from today on the live stream. So pop into the chat and go ahead and just, say, hey, I'm joining from here. Whether that's you're down the street from me here in Oklahoma or you're across the world. It's going to be a fun stream today. We've got a lot of things to go over, a lot of things to share. Just worship and tech news. We got a couple of live streams that you guys have submitted for us to look at together and kind of give some feedback about. So we'll do that towards the end of the show. We're also going to do another session of Get Off My Church Lawn. We've got a good song to kind of look at. And actually, I haven't even listened to this song yet. I just saw it pop up this week, a new one. Yeah. So how's your week been? Everything treating you well? Going good? I'm happy to be here. Another Friday, right? Oh gosh. And if you have a question for some Q&A time, I would love to just, do some Q&A with you. So I'm seeing some guys drop some questions in there in the chat. That's great. Let's see who we have on the stream today. Looks like Josh is joining us from Georgia. And we got Jake hopping on from Montana. Awesome. Well, like I said, if you got any questions, pop them in the chat, and we'll go over those here in just a minute. How's my week been? Man, it's been crazy. We did the stream a little early last week because, let's see, starting last Friday, I actually was filming at another church's ministry that has this really cool outreach here in our city called The Mission, and they've built this new facility. And so I went over there and was filming a testimonial video. I've partnered with them, this other church here in town. They contract me in to do videography, which is kind of funny. But so I was over there doing that last Friday. Then Sunday we had baptism Sunday. Here's a photo that I grabbed while in between songs. I jumped down on the floor and used my little EOS RP to grab that one. We had 4 people baptized. If you guys need like a mobile baptistry thing, I do have a video on my channel about how we made that one. I'm sure you've seen those before. They're just those tanks that you can buy, and we cut the top off. But I like it a lot. It works great. Getting it out. Our old baptistry is actually behind that screen. So, and then Monday, I actually got to go to another church in Oklahoma City. Man, my computer is being slow. This little MacBook Pro, it's like, you're making me do too many things. This is a church called Trinity Baptist Church in Yukon, Oklahoma. And I got to go and kind of hang out with other worship pastors and do a little tour of their facility. They actually just did like a $500,000 renovation of all their media stuff. So I actually didn't take any pictures this is actually a picture my pastor took. So those are all LED screens. They have a whole broadcast suite now and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of tools that they can use now, and new cameras and stuff. So that was fun. Got to do that. I also released a couple videos in the last week. So had my Sunday vlog, which was a big moment for our family. This last Sunday, my wife came on staff officially as our kids director. So it's been a whirlwind. She actually left for Cincinnati to go to a conference on Tuesday. So she's not back yet. So I'm like single parent this week. But then I also put out a video yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. 10 easy transitions that worship leaders can utilize in their worship sets. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. If you're a worship leader, hopefully it helps you, inspires you. Wednesday, I ended up returning the DJI RS2. I just thought for our situation, it works really well. This is just a little example of it tracking. It just didn't work good enough to justify it, which this is not a great example because I have it sharing the frame, but it tracked, it did its thing. My thing is that we were having to use it for the roaming cam person and then just putting it on the gimbal after we did that and hooking up all the HDMI cables. If it was in a place where we could just leave it and we didn't have camera ops, then I think it would be a good solution. So you can watch my video that I made on active tracking your pastor and kind of see there it goes. Kind of see what you think, if it's worth it or not. I'm sure there's other churches out there that are using it already. So let's see, what else have I been doing? Oh, we're also renovating our children's wing. So in the next 2 weeks or so, I've got to install all new Wi-Fi. We're doing Ubiquity stuff. In the next month or so, we're going to be redoing all of our security cam system for some reason, that's all part of my job. So, so I got nothing going on. Let's do a live stream. But that's just life. That's ministry, right? So it's a good busy is what I like to tell people. It's a good busy. Who else we got on here today? Jason, you made it. You made it to the stream today. Awesome. From Dayton, Ohio. Peter is from Kentucky. We got Tim hopping on from Hamburg, Germany. I don't know. Hamburg. Toronto, Canada. Vaughn. Awesome, man. That's great. Joshua, I'll just touch on this real quick. It didn't work as well as a roaming cam. So the way we run things, we have our roaming cam is that camera that you saw, the 70 to 200, and he's on a monopod. So he's roaming throughout the sanctuary, right? the idea was we could put it on that DJI RS2 and not have to have somebody follow cam the pastor because we're lazy, I guess. And you know, sometimes the camera ops get distracted and all of a sudden he's walking out of frame. So it's like, maybe this thing would just do it perfectly. It just wasn't as good as somebody actually that's paying attention. So I just said, for $1,000, I think I'll send it back and I can use that a different way. So here's the streaming setup today. Hi guys. I moved my desk a little bit. You know, it's just, I like to change things. So let's hop into some Q&A, and then we'll go to worship and tech news here in just a minute. Okay, so let me scroll up to the top. And if you post a question, will you just post question and then like post your question after that, like write question, so that way I know as I'm scrolling through these what you got. All right, Peter, he was first in line here. He says, looking to add some mirrorless cameras to the mix. Struck out after trying a Canon M50. It won't stay on for more than 30 minutes plus other problems. But we also run iMag, so I'm worried about latency. Okay, so Peter, I wonder what your budget is. If you're looking in the M50 range, then you're sub $1,000. The thing with iMag for sure is that any of these mirrorless cameras that you've got, you know, like here I've got this EOS RP. It's a great full frame mirrorless camera. It's what I used to vlog with. Any of the Lumix cameras that you see that we use, they're going to add a few frames of latency through the HDMI output. So you really want something that has SDI output. One thing that I've thought about doing in the past is getting a GH4, but getting the YAG unit, the YAGH. And let me see if I can pull that up, because what that does is it's like a battery grip kind of thing that it provides an SDI output. So let me see if I can find it here. Go on to B&H. And I'm not even sure if they sell them anymore, but you might be able to find it on eBay. But I'm trying to think of a cheap option for you that... Okay, here we go. Let's go over here. So this is the YAGH unit from Panasonic. And I don't know that he has any other pictures on this little guy. I love suggestion of motion because he's got a bunch of stuff. But you got SDI units here on it that you can go SDI out. And so that would solve that problem. But if you're using them for iMag, I'm not sure that we can just use any of these little handheld deals. But we don't do iMag at my church. So I'm not an expert on iMag stuff, but hopefully that gives you an idea of what to do. So let's see. If you don't have to use iMag, then I can give you a slew of suggestions. But, you know, it may be more beneficial to actually move to like a camcorder style camera if that's your budget is sub 1,000 and have SDI output. That's important on iMag, just for latency's sake. Jake, yeah, holler at me. He worked on the middle things. Let's look here. Okay. Jonathan, he says, I'm a candidate for the first full-time worship pastor role next weekend. I've been only part-time over the last 10 years, been through 3 Zoom interviews for the role. Any tips for the final step of the process next weekend? Appreciate you, man. Yeah, that's a great question. All right, so he's looking to go full-time into ministry. Hopefully you've worked out all the details of the package. You have asked and researched any, background of the church things. I've known some guys that have gotten hired and then they find out, oh yeah, by the way, we fired the guy before you. Did nobody tell you that? So definitely ask questions. What's the history? What's the vision of the pastor? Things like that. But it sounds like you're ready. You feel God calling you to this church. So I would say when you go into that interview, be yourself. Do not put on a facade. If you're not a guy who wears a tie and you don't want to be a guy that wears a tie, don't wear a tie to your thing to your first, interview thing. Um, be honest. That way, whenever you do start, that they know the real person that they're getting. So, yeah, just ask good questions, be yourself, and man, if it's God's will, it'll happen. Let's see. What other questions do we have? Jason says, as Peter said, I'm also interested in a DSLR that stays on longer than 30 minutes or so. All right, guys. So I'm going to drop a link here in the comments to Jason. What's your budget? Because there's many that I can suggest, but my very favorite is right now for a budget option, the Panasonic G85, because they're running a special on it right now for $697, and it comes with a 12 to 60 lens. So let me link this up. I'll drop it in the comments. This is going to be an affiliate link, so if you use it, it won't cost you anything. But I do get a small kickback, I think like 2% or something. So G85, anything in the Panasonic Lumix family, those are all great. Even the G7, which for some reason is still kind of expensive, or you can look used. He says budget unknown at this point. Well, then you got lots of options. You can go all the way to Sony FX3s if you want and spend $3,500. But that would be kind of my starting point. The G85 I love because it has the built-in stabilization on the sensor like a GH5 does, but it's a lot cheaper. All right, let's look at the next question. All right, Tim, he asks, can you do the DJI wireless tracking while streaming live? Because I know it needs to use the HDMI out from the camera, and you also need that port to stream live. Yes. All right, so Tim, the way that had to work for us is you have to split the HDMI. He's correct. It needs to go out of the camera into the little wireless transmitter, but the problem is that wireless transmitter, the Raven Eye, it doesn't have a loop out. And so it's like, okay, well, what good does this do me unless I'm recording on the camera? So what we did was we went out of the camera into a splitter, and then out of the splitter into the Raven Eye, and out of the splitter into our Teradek Ace 500. So it was also kind of a mess of cables, and that was another reason I'm like, there's just so many things that could go wrong with this unless we have this set up in a spot that's just always there. I don't know that I want to mess with it. So, yes, Isaac Worley, one of my tech guys, he also chimed in there on the idea of using the RS2. So, agreed. Yes. All right, we got Vincent in the house from Stark, Florida, and actually, we're going to be reviewing Vincent's church's stream today. So, stay tuned, guys. Stanford asks, our traditional service just upgraded their PTZ cameras. Our modern service currently runs Blackmagic pockets and a Canon XA45 and Marshall cams. Okay, and so that's the intro. Would we benefit from merging the 1080p PTZs, or should we sell that system and purchase another Blackmagic cam with a couple cinema lenses? I'm not a PTZ fan. The times I've worked with them, I've just been super unimpressed. I think maybe keeping, I don't know. It just depends on the church. Like there are some churches where you have to kind of hide the cameras because it's a cathedral. It's a really old building that you don't have a place to put, a tripod or even a monopod pole. So you've got to mount them and you can't have camera operators. I get it. Like there's certain times you have to do PTZs, but the cost of a really good PTZ, like I saw some from Sony that came out that were like almost $6,000, and they're still like a tiny chip, the sensor, compared to what you can get with a Panasonic camera mirrorless, a Sony camera mirrorless, or your Blackmagic stuff. The image quality is going to be so much better. And I just feel like if you're already running all these other cameras, then that probably doesn't, that doesn't sound like your situation. So I would lean towards getting, more of your Pocket 4Ks or a Pocket 6K, something like that. And your Marshall cams, we've got a couple Marshall cams. Maybe look at moving those also to another, mirrorless style camera, just so they all kind of have that higher depth of field look to them. So what else do we got? Dave says, quite the chirpy intro in your latest video. Hey, I'm glad that somebody noticed that. That's my teleportation out of our fake tree in the front of our church. I can't believe I'm putting this man on the screen. Who's your favorite senior pastor you've worked with? This is my senior pastor here, Clayton Chisholm. So, man, that's a tough one. Probably Kevin Lawfer. No. Sorry, guys. Inside joke. All right, Jake's got a question here. Recommendations for getting the GH4 feed into a micro converter. Do you use a micro HDMI dongle or an actual micro HDMI to a full-size cable? Been having issues with ours lately. So, yeah, Jake, okay. So, any of these cameras that have the micro HDMI, I've actually I've gotten all of them cages. So that way they've got the little bracket that you can attach on there that clamps down on that output. Usually for most of mine, okay, so I have two situations. RGH4s and G7s that aren't manned, I usually buy a long cable that is a right angle micro HDMI that goes down and then is a full-size HDMI to go into your micro converter. Just because the less connections that you have in the chain, the less things you have to go wrong, right? So the fewer adapters, the better, is my opinion on that. So I like these. Another thing that I will do for our roaming cams that is go the opposite way with it, and we're going up because we've got the wireless HDMI on top of it. And I like this little trick of using a little twist tie on the camera strap little loop thing. I will take that camera strap loop and tie a little twist tie around here so it keeps it from, pulling out of that micro HDMI port. But I would recommend getting, some cheap cages for them. We use the small rig ones. So, okay. I think that's all the questions I see in the chat for now. You guys feel free to hop in there and ask some more questions if you want to. But right now, I think it's time that we do a little worship and tech news. So, man, there's been a crazy amount of new tech stuff come out this week. All kinds of cameras, and obviously Apple had their big event where they announced a bunch of stuff, and disappointingly, I was disappointed that they didn't even mention the MacBook Pros, because I'm just waiting and praying that they come out, hopefully in October. But it was all about iPads and iPhones. So that's not really affecting us too much as worship and tech guys. I mean, obviously I use all Apple stuff, but GoPro came out with the GoPro Hero 10 Black. Let's see if I can find it here. There it is. And they didn't really change that much. But I just want to say, don't buy this camera. Don't buy a GoPro for your church worship ministry to utilize in a live stream. I know so many guys that have bought GoPros to, pop into their drum cage or on a little close-up of the pianist or something like that. I mean, this camera is like $400. And yeah, it's got the awesome stabilization. It's a action camera though. It's not meant for live streaming. And if you're still rocking the Studio HDs, the ATEMs like we are, They're not going to play nice with that. You have to have converters at that point as well. Now you're looking at like $600 for this little camera. Go and get a used G7 with a Tokina 11 to 20 lens 2.8 and call it a day. Like, it's a much bigger, but it gets you that wide field of view for much cheaper. So yeah, that came out. I did see, this was funny. This guy on the church sound text posted how he's using Alexas and smart plugs from Amazon to basically be his sequencer for turning all of their sound system stuff on. Most people have like the Furman thing where you turn the key. We do, where it powers everything on in sequence, but I guess they don't have that. So this was, watch
What's
this.
Up, guys? Lewis Adams Z is here, production director at John Wesley UMC in Houston, Texas. We are here at the church, and I did something because I got tired of turning everything on one by one. The mixer, the soundboard, we got a stage rack in the back that controls our LED walls, and we got our live stream room over here. And so what I did is I put everything on some smart plugs. Now I say, Alexa, turn on the system. Just like that. Everything's on.
Pretty smart.
And to turn it off, all you say is, Alexa, turn off the system.
And it turns it off.
Boom.
I mean, I thought that was pretty smart, utilizing like some of this smart home technology stuff. We do have like plug-in things that you can turn off and on your lighting stuff that's hanging in the ceiling. Let me see if I can find it actually here. So we use these little remotes to turn off and on everything, but he's using Amazon smart home stuff. Are any of you guys doing that? Are you using Alexa to control things? I don't know. It's interesting thought to be able to utilize Alexa. My wife and some other people toured another church here in town. They're using Alexas in every room of the kids' wing, so that way the person at the front desk can say, Alexa, or like tell them, like do the announcement on the Alexas, like little Johnny's parents are here. So instead of having an intercom system installed in every room, they actually just, they just use Alexas, which is a lot easier than running cabling and stuff. But I guess if the Wi-Fi goes down, then you're out of luck. I can't find the plugs that I bought. Well, that's okay. Something else in Worship and Tech news that I saw was another post on the Worship and Tech group that I thought was really cool. Kind of a next level live streaming camera work. And what I mean by that is they incorporated some in-camera transitions. So in this example that I'll show you, they had one camera op that he told them fade to black or go to black, and then the next camera op knows come from black. So you'll see one guy pan into a dark area, and then he cuts it and pans out of that into the next area. So I do this kind of stuff all the time when I'm making videos, but I always thought that might be too hard to try and do live, whip pans and things like that. I mean, that's not really what you're going to do, but watch this and see what you think. I thought it was kind of cool. All right, so here we go. On her, pan over to black, and reveal from a piano or something like that. I don't know. Watch it again now that you've seen it once. It's a little shaky here, but there you go. Panning over, into black, cut to the next camera. I mean, that's like next level directing in my opinion. So I thought that was kind of cool. Are any of you guys incorporating in-camera transitions into your live stream stuff? Pretty sweet if you can get to that point. So I don't know. Let's see. What other questions do we have? Tim asks, we use the Behringer X32 at my church. Is it possible to duplicate the main output to one of the bus monitor sends so I can hear the same thing coming out of the main on the main in the bus? So, Tim, if you're just wanting to monitor what's coming out of the mains and you have headphones plugged into the board, you should be able just to click the solo button above the main fader to do that. And actually, I think if you don't have anything soloed, it does what's coming out of the mains. Now, if you want to do a separate mix and put that on a bus, that's what we do. We have a stereo bus that we mix separately for our stream mix. Then you can go on and click solo on that bus, and it will show you the stereo feed. So, is that what you're asking? All right. Sorry, reading text messages. Oh, yeah, Peter, this is a great point. Yeah, when they went up to 9 and 10, you have to get like the media mod as well to get the HDMI output. So it's just silly. All right, here's a question about worship. Serious question. Where do you see worship music going in the next 5 years, specifically thinking about reaching young families? If I was to look into my crystal ball and say in 5 years what worship music will be like, I mean, I think the pendulum swings so quickly in churches because, so I'm not sure. Right now, the pendulum is kind of swinging back to this more like raw sounding, gospel-ish, more even like some southern rockish stuff in there, less electronic. Like for a while, it kind of moved with like when Hillsong United came out, we started doing more synth stuff, 15 years ago. And now I feel like it's kind of transitioning to you have to actually be a musician to play these parts, and less produced stuff feeling. But I think that's just kind of the pendulum swinging back that way. But if you listen to music that's coming out right now on Top 40, it's a wide spectrum as well. So I don't know that it seems like worship music, we kind of follow the trend of whatever the biggest churches are doing right now is what has kind of happened. Where whenever I first started leading worship, we had certain groups and certain artists, and those artists were all kind of different. And so you had a range of songs, a range of styles, I guess. Now it's gotten to be more churches copying other churches, copying other churches. And so we have this similar kind of worship style music. Like you can push a play on a song, and typically within like the first 20 seconds, most worship pastors can tell you if that's a worship song or not based on the music, And so it does seem like we follow the trends a little bit of where pop music and just mainstream music goes as well, as far as like instrumentation and that kind of thing. But I don't know. Those are my thoughts. I don't know if that's silly. All right, Julian chimed in about the smart plugs. We hate them because they're often not functioning. Yeah, if you can't trust your Wi-Fi and stuff, I wouldn't do it. And then also, like my pastor was saying, somebody, if you don't change the command, could just go back to me like, Alexa, turn everything off. All right, Peter, this is a great question because this is also on my to-do list. What do you guys use for your to-do list? I use this app called Todoist that I really like because I can assign different things to my intern as well, and he has it on his phone. But yes, budget is on there as well because it's our time to submit new budgets. How do I organize my budget, especially with things like tracks and charts? So my budget, whenever I came here, I had multiple lines. Now you have to remember, I'm the worship and media arts pastor. So I'm over all things worship, all things media, and they come out of my budget. So I think I have like $22,000 this year to cover everything from if I needed to buy a camera, if we need to buy new routers for the Wi-Fi. Sometimes that might come out of it. Domain names for our website, any tracks, paying musicians, anything and everything having to do with that stuff would come out of my budget. So I used to have all these line items, and I got tired of having to code everything. So now I just have one item that says worship and media arts or something like that, and everything just comes out of it. But whenever I submit my budget, yes, it's all broken down line by line of what I think I'm going to need. And so it's kind of the Dave Ramsey model, right? Like tell your money where to go kind of thing. So if you don't do that. Actually look at what you spent historically in the last few years. And I always say, like, make sure you're dreaming a little bit too. Like, don't just maintain. Try to think like, okay, what could we do this next year in our tech ministry or whatever, and make a plan for that. Like, okay, because all of our stuff, you have to remember, I've been here 11 years. I didn't get to walk in and be like, can I have $200,000 to redo everything? Like, I started streaming on my iPhone and I had 2 LED bars pointing at the light or at the ceiling. That's where I started, with upgrading our technology. So it's been an incremental thing. And I try to be a good steward of it too, as well. So hopefully that helped. All right, Benjamin. He says, thinking of getting a G7 like you suggest. We currently use a Panasonic UX series camcorder, the UX90, as our follow cam. What lens would you recommend for a tight follow cam from about 80 feet? Okay, from about 80 feet, if it's just going to sit on top of the tripod and follow, then you don't need stabilization, which opens up some other options. So from 80 feet, we're sitting at about 60 feet in ours, and so that gives me an idea of what you actually do need. Let me pull up this lens over here, and I'll show you. It would be the Olympus 40 to 150, I think it is. Let's see. Not the f4 to 5.6, the f2.8. All right. Yeah, so it's looking like $1,400, but it goes to 150, and that will get you the reach that you need. You could go Panasonic 35 to 100 as well if you're on a G7 and utilize the teleconverter function within the camera and get like that doubled in look. But this Olympus lens is an awesome lens. It doesn't have stabilization in the lens, and so you would have to be on a tripod for that. But that's what I would recommend from 80 feet, and I will drop a link in the chat to that. All right, let's go over here. There you go. There's a link to it. Man, I love these questions, guys. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Dave asks a question about adding black bars over his program feed on the ATEM Mini using the DSK. Might you have some recommendations? So, yeah, Dave, I don't ever use the media pool function, so I'm not super familiar with that because I don't think, I'm not sure. Let's look at, well, I don't have, let me see. Hold on. Let's see if I can pull this up on my ATEM. You know, if you haven't watched the video that I put out there of how to do the black bars, we actually send ours from ProPresenter onto there. But let's see if I can bring this over here. And we'll look at the software control here. All right, good. Got it. So on your DSK, on your downstream key, the way I'm doing things right now on this stream is I'm using a Luma key, and setting your clip and your gain at the right settings will allow you to keep the black bars on but nothing else, right? But then you would click invert key, if that makes sense, because it's usually doing the white, it's keeping the white and getting rid of the black. But if you invert the key there, it would flip-flop it. And I think you can choose your media player 1 right there as your fill source, and then you would change media player 1 as well for your key source. And I'm pretty sure the annoying thing, one reason I don't use it, is every time you restart the ATEM, you have to reload the media pool. Am I right on that, guys? I don't, even if you come up here and click save startup state, it doesn't save your media pool, I don't think. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Oh, I got to get that back over here though. Good question. I've really liked using the black bars on our stream. It took a little bit of time for us to get our camera guys used to framing things for that, but yeah, it's cool. All right. Peter asks, any benefit of a G7 over a G85? The G85 is newer and cheaper now. Yeah, exactly, Peter. I'm not sure why the G7 is more expensive than the G85. The G7s are older. They don't have stabilization. In the ISO tests that I've seen, the G85 is a little bit better. So no, I wouldn't buy a G7 over a G85. The only benefit is that they've been out in the wild a lot longer. So it seems like you're able to find used G7s pretty easily. Even like Facebook Marketplace, eBay for sure. You can kind of get a better deal used on a G7. So that's still why I mention them a lot. Jake has a question. Do you have any tips on how to modernize a traditional space that is used for both traditional and contemporary services? Man, that's a good question. I've seen it done a few ways. It just depends on how big a budget you have. I've even seen time lapses of some churches that have a motorized stage platform thing that basically like brings out the choir loft and brings out the orchestra pit, and then when it's time for the contemporary service, it like goes back. It was on this huge scale. Super impressive. One thing that you could do is just what I've seen a lot of churches do, try to utilize lighting that is kind of hidden, that's not out, that you can light things with, light the space with, to accent some of the architecture and things like that during the modern service. But then during the traditional service, you just don't even have it on. Maybe that's, your ceilings are arching up and you've got LEDs hidden that are going to shine colors into that and allow you to add more fill light into the room with wash and stuff. Then, you can always get flats that are like, you can build 4x8 flats that you could bring out during the modern service to have as little backdrops behind each band member, things like that. So any of you guys that have a traditional space that you also have a modern service in, any ideas you have, post them in the comments. Let's see. Dave, I appreciate the comment, man. Enjoy doing the streams. I like doing this because I get to actually talk with you and stuff. So I like making the videos for the channel as well, but I hope that you are getting some out of these streams. Last week, I made $10 doing this stream. So, man, it paid for lunch. If you have any more questions, guys, drop them in the chat for sure. And I'll hop back in there for Q&A and stuff. But right now, I think it's time that we move on to a little part of the stream that I like to call Get Off My Church Lawn.
What's all that racket?
If it's not from the Broadman, I don't even sing it.
They just don't make music like they used to.
Amen. That's right. They just don't make that music like they used to. This section of the stream is all about, am I becoming an old man? As all this new worship music comes out every week, just banger after banger, as the youths say on YouTubes. As I watch them, am I going, this is what the kids are using to worship Jesus with? I don't want to become that guy, right? So we're going to look at a new song that's come out in the last week and just kind of, piece by piece look at it and say, is this a song that I would use at my church? And maybe in my mind, this isn't a congregational song, but to the youth of today, this actually does connect. So today, we're going to be looking at a song called Fix My Eyes that came out on Worship Together this last week. And it's by a guy named Evan Kraft. And if you watch my vlogs, you'll know that my pastor is a huge Evan Kraft fan. I've never heard him sing one note. So I'm really curious to play this one and just take a look and see, does this one foot the bill? So let's look at this song called Fix My Eyes by Evan Kraft.
Fix my eyes on you. Set my heart on you. Let every breath I breathe speak of your glory. I lift my hands to you. Surrender all to you. The weight of your majesty brings me down to my knees.
Okay, so there's the opening verse. It's nice. It's nothing. It's very worship song. Kind of how I was saying earlier. I can tell you within the first 20 seconds that that's a worship song without even the lyrics. It just sounds like a worship song. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying. So the lyrics sound solid though. Weight of your majesty brings me down to my knees. Grace, face, praise. I don't know if he said those. It's just historically what we rhyme as worship pastors. All right, let's see what happens next.
All the glory, all the honor to the one who gave it all. I wanna be closer to you. Fix my eyes on you.
There you go.
Fix my eyes on you. No distractions can keep me away. Fix my eyes on you. Fix my eyes on you.
Oh, there we go. Sorry,
Set
Evan.
my heart on you. And let every breath I breathe.
All right, so it's kind of like what I was saying on the last song that we evaluated. Sometimes really good singers can make a good song a great song, and then you do it and you're like, why didn't that one connect with them like it does with me when I'm driving in the car? Well, you're not this guy. You're not Evan Kraft. I'm not. So, but so far the song's good. I like that chorus, Fix My Eyes on You. That's a great thing to sing.
Speak of your glory. I lift my hands to you. Surrender all to you. The weight of your majesty brings me down to my knees. Hey, all the glory, all the honor to the one who gave it all. I wanna be closer to you.
right, let's see how high this is. Fix my eyes. I wonder what note that is. Do you know your range as a worship pastor? If you don't, you should. So that way when you're looking at songs like this, they're doing this in the key of G, and he's belting it out. Like, am I going to have to rearrange all of the instrumentation for my players? So I can hit like a high E comfortably. Fix my eyes. Let's see, they're in the key of G, right? Yeah, fix my eyes. Yeah. I don't know, man. That would be a stretch for me. So I'd probably have to take it down at least a full step. And so then you start thinking, okay, we're going to do this in the key of F. Do guitar players even like playing in the key of F? I don't know. Let's keep going and see where the bridge goes.
No distractions can keep me away. Fix my eyes on you. Remind me of who you are. Remind me of what
Walk it up.
you've
Walk it up.
done, where you have taken me, and how you have set me free. You have set me free. Remind me of who you are. Remind me of what you've done, where you have taken me, and how you have
Okay.
set me free.
Yeah. So there it is. That's the song "Fix My Eyes" by Evan Kraft. If you want to check it out, they came out this last week, and it may be out before that, but that's just the first time I've seen it and heard of it. So it's a pretty cool song. I've just got so many songs in the bank waiting to be done that songs really like they have to be something special and like hit differently for me to like really immediately want to play them. So yeah, I don't know. All right, so before we get into our live stream reviews, sorry, I just hit the mic. Let's see, is there any other questions that you guys got? All right, Joey, we'll do this question, and then we'll move into our live stream reviews. Any network advice for setting up an internet signal that's stable for both Wi-Fi and hardline devices? So, Joey, hopefully I'm about to solve that same problem here at our church. We are about to switch everything that we have, all access points, to Ubiquiti Unify system. So I know many churches use them. It's kind of a cost-effective. It's not an open mesh. It's not a mesh network. The one we have right now is an open mesh network, and it's older. The company got sold. I mean, I'm using it right now. It's okay. But yeah, we have issues like that as well. So I would say, Joey, if you are not a network guy, find someone in your church that is. We have like 4 or 5 guys that are IT guys. I say 4 or 5, maybe it's like 2 or 3, that I know of at our church that I can call and be like, hey, what do you guys use in your giant corporation's Wi-Fi? And then how can we scale that for our church? And I have a guy in our church that's coming to actually show us, like, he's done heat maps and all that stuff through Unify, and he's showing us exactly like where to put them in the rooms and how they're angled, because like me, I just like put it on the wall. So yeah, that would be my suggestion. Okay, we have 2 live streams that we're going to look at today. One is a church that actually is a Spanish-speaking church that submitted. So let me find their info here, and we'll give them a look and give them suggestions of how they can make it the best they can be. Because it's not always about buying new gear and just throwing a lot of money at stuff. It's how can we utilize what we have to make it the best that it can be. So this is Thomas, and his church meets in Rochester, New York. And what's unique about them is that they actually have begun using the church's system that they meet in. So they kind of meet at another church's church during the week, or maybe Sunday afternoon or something. It has 4 PTZ optics cameras. So here we are, PTZ cams, right? But he's also thrown in the mix a Sony a6600 with a lens on it. So, then they're using vMix, and he just wants some feedback about, cameras, angles, and coloring. So let's look here at Thomas's church's feed. All right, here we go.
Entro a Sion, al lugar de mi seguridad, a la roca donde firme estoy, a la roca donde fuerte soy. Entro a Sion, al lugar de mi seguridad, a la roca donde firme estoy, a la roca donde fuerte soy.
All right. So there's kind of just a little get the feel of how their services are going. A couple things. I mean, that panning shot, I don't think is actually one of the PTZ cams. I think that's a Sony cam that is following along. The first thing I would say is just you have too many lines of lyrics on the screen. It's covering up about half the screen there. And I think you're just mirroring what's happening on the screens in the room. So I would try to move down to like no more than 2 lines of lyrics on the screen if you can.
Creo, creo en ti, creo en ti, creo en ti, creo en tus promesas.
All right. Audio wise, I would say it's a little odd because we have the female in my left ear and the male in my right ear. I think you've panned them too much a little bit. So maybe bring them back to the center some, and they were just way too hot. I've actually got it turned down here on my computer some for the stream volume. And if you don't have audience mics, maybe try and get one mic in the back of the room or right there on stage that you can put up. It doesn't look like there's a ton of people meeting at the church yet, so you don't necessarily need it for that, but even just adding a little more reverb on there would help. White balance looks good on this cam. Let's see if we can... Okay, here comes a different... You can definitely tell it's a PTZ cam. Just because the contrast, the dynamic range, the depth of field is not the same as your Sony. It doesn't look bad though. I mean, that picture looked a little cool to me, but you probably don't have the ability to adjust their PTZ cams if you're using someone else's stuff. So I like the pacing of your shots with this style of song. It's not too often. All right, let's look and see. If you were to add other cameras to the mix like you're doing, what I would try and do is add a camera on the stage somewhere. So all of these shots are from the same vantage point, it looks like. The back of the room, shooting towards the stage, right? So we have no variation as far as angles. So if you can take your Sony and instead of being at the back and panning around, maybe run a long cable up to the stage or something and have a different style shot. Let's just look a little bit more. If you guys have any thoughts, things to help them, let me know. Okay, so there's a wider shot. I like that for establishing. There's just still way too many lyrics on there on the screen. There's another center wide shot. So you got a lot of shots at the back of the room. I do like the close-ups that you're getting on them. Those are framed really well. Not too much headroom or anything like that, so that's good. Let's just scroll a little bit more here. Those are my initial thoughts. Like you're working with what you got, and it's not bad, but you can make it better. So yeah, hopefully that helps you out a little bit. If you guys have any thoughts, post them in the comments, and let's see. Okay, we got one more live stream review to do today, and it is from... Oh, I know who it's from. Vincent. This is Cross Church. Vincent, thanks for watching, man. Hopefully you're still on the stream today. If you are, let us know in the chat. And this is what they're using at their church, at Cross Church. They have 2 Blackmagic 4Ks. Then they have... they're using Panasonic 35 to 100 lenses, f2.8, my very favorite lens. for the Panasonic line. They also have the Panasonic UX 180s. Those are camcorders, Panasonics. And they usually mix from Logic Pro. But on this one, they're going straight from the board. So let's pull up Cross Churches and let's give it a listen, give it a look-see, talk about shot composition and pacing, directing, those kinds of ideas. So here we go. Cross Church.
Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us online today. Come on, let's worship Jesus together.
Okay. First of all, it sounds really good. Like, I don't know for you guys listening, but that mix is pretty nice. Off the bat, a couple things I noticed about this shot. It looks to me that the white balance is set a little warm for the lights that are lighting this shot for skin tones and stuff. I'm looking at the guitar in the background as well. You look a little on the greenish yellow or orangish side. So maybe if you haven't white balance set every single camera the same exact thing, color like not going in and doing like custom white balance. I'm talking about going in and setting the Kelvin to each thing the same. You might look at that. The other thing I noticed is that this shot was kind of just pulsing just a little bit. So I don't know how you have this one mounted. Hopefully it's on a tripod that's down to the floor and not on a desk. So initial thoughts. Also, I like your lower thirds. I recognize that template. Let's listen.
When all I see is the battle, you see my victory.
I like the panning.
When all I see is a mountain, you see a mountain moved. And as I walk
Sounds great.
through the shadow.
All right, so we're halfway through the first verse, and we've been on this same shot the whole time. So directing-wise, I would have your directors think through, you're just opening the service, right, for everybody that's watching online. And I get that this one is maybe a little different because there was nobody in the room, but hopefully when people are in the room, I typically would, if he's going to talk right at the beginning, I would be on close-up on him. But then as soon as that instrumental starts, I'm going to a wide shot, an establishing shot of the room to show everybody that's new to the church, where are we? What is this space like? And then if you're on an instrumental and it's a pass, there's no one singing, I'm always encouraging our directors, go to the guitarist, go to the drummer, go to somebody else, not just me going, you know? So those are some other thoughts.
Your love surrounds me. There's nothing to fear now, for I am safe with you.
All right, let's see if they go to some other shots here.
So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my...
Okay, so I would throw this one in the mix more often, you know, as far as an establishing shot, if this is your widest shot.
hands lifted high. Oh, God, the battle belongs to you. And every fear I lay at your feet.
Looks like they've got Roland V drums, actually. They sound pretty good.
Oh, God, the battle belongs to you. And if you are for me, who...
All right, so I think audio-wise, you guys are ahead of the game, man. It does sound really nice. I like you've got reverb there, but it's not too much. You've got a good separation of instruments. I'm hearing acoustic on one side, electric on the other, but not spread too far. The drums are a good mix. Are you guys using a VST for those drums, or is it onboard sounds on that Roland unit? Like, are you using Steven Slate samples? If not, it's always something you can give a try. We used to do that as well when we had V drums, but they sound really pretty nice. What I think you need to add next is some different angles, or like you're at a good spot here. add a camera on stage, add a drum cam, add something from the side of the stage where it's got your singer here from the side profile or something like that. A roaming person in the audience. I know you don't have an audience this day because of COVID, but right now we just got 2 angles. So let's just kind of move through here and see what other shots we get. Okay, so we got another one here of a singer. And her skin tones look pretty close. I just realized like my monitor over there is not trustworthy. I'm looking here on my MacBook. It looks, maybe your white balance isn't as bad as I thought.
To cradle in the dirt. Praise the Father.
Okay.
Praise the Son. Praise.
All right, so you got that UX80, the Panasonic camcorder. What I'm noticing is you're not doing anything with the camcorder other than just static shots. So the only benefit that I think a camcorder offers is the ability to have parfocal zooming and smooth panning, right? So, like if you don't have one of these little rocker zooms for your Panasonic camera, these Vari zooms actually do work. Panasonics are weird. They don't have the normal LANC capabilities, but this Vari zoom does make them. So we actually have a couple of these for that we've tried in the past. So, but if you can get those and just incorporate some slow zoom outs, slow pans, I think that will help a lot. Let's just look and see if there's any other differences here in the stream that I'm seeing. What do you guys think in the chat? Is there anything else you'd say to Vincent that that would help them out? Superior Drummer 3, Vincent says. That makes sense. That's why they sound so good. Awesome. Yeah, the drums sound nice, man. I'm just kind of scrubbing through here. That lyric template looks good on y'all's stream, so good job. Yeah, that's what I would suggest, Vincent, is even it looks like you have a wide cam and then the other 2 cams are kind of bouncing between like a singer and I don't know if the other one stays on male vocal. So you got that one as well. Even just taking one of these from the back and moving it up to the side of the stage, you know, I'm saying like over, like have somebody over here. It's so hard to point the right way on this. And getting a side profile of your male lead and then across down the line, you know, kind of thing. Or hiding a cam up there by the drums. That's kind of what I would say and suggest would be the next, you know, the next thing maybe you could add. So I hope that helps. If you guys are interested in getting your live stream kind of looked at and talked about and give my thoughts on, there is a link in the description of this video that you can actually go and fill out the Google form. And then maybe next week we can do another live stream and, you know, take a look at it and see. So I just want to wrap up today by, if there is any final questions out there from you guys that you want me to chime in about and look at, then just pop them in the chat right there. Vincent did say that their wide shot is unmanned, and that's the camcorder. They do have a drum cam, but not that week. Gotcha. That makes sense. So, cool. Yeah. What other questions do you guys have? We got about, 4 minutes, and then I've got to go. I got to run. Got a lunch deal that I'm with some buddies. So let's see if I can pull up that poll that I put. So it looks like on the poll that I posted at the beginning of the stream, what cameras are you using at your church? Mirrorless DSLRs are at 33%. Camcorders are still leading the way at 45%. You got 6% of y'all using PTZ. And surprisingly, which maybe this classifies as black magic, 15% of you are using cinema cameras. So I'm thinking maybe like Pocket 4Ks, you're calling a cinema camera. although the image looks just like a GH5 to me, or a GH4 almost. So, hey, we got a super chat. It looks like, wow. Hey, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Peter. Appreciate you, dude. He says, thanks for the great channel. I hope that you guys are getting benefit out of the channel. I'm trying to really just document my journey as a worship leader, as a media pastor, worship and media arts pastor. And so I know a lot of the stuff I'm doing is tech related, but I'm a worship pastor at heart that enjoys utilizing tech to help, tell the message and encourage people to worship. So I'm sharing those things that I'm learning along the way, and I'm glad that somebody out there is getting benefit, getting something out of it. And I appreciate that. That'll pay for my burger today. So thank you, Peter. All right, we're going to end that poll. We can call that one good. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for me. I just want to say thanks again for hopping on the stream with me today on this Friday. I hope that you have an awesome weekend, that things go well at your church this Sunday, and that, we keep in mind what I always try to end with is the fact that we can do a lot of great things. We can have the best gear ever. We can have a perfectly executed live stream, but if we're not doing it for the right reasons, and those right reasons are to glorify God, then it's all in vain, right? It's all self-serving. And so let's do all these great things for the right reasons. And we'll see you in the next stream. Thanks for hopping on, guys. Have a great weekend. See you.